So now let's see how to modify the previous program by moving the common piece of code into a function and calling it within the main function, calling the new functions within the main function. Before that, first let's look at how to declare a function. So what's the syntax for declaring a function? First, we need to have a return type for the function. The return type can be integer, double, or any data type that we've seen so far. Or the function may not even return anything. So when the function does not return anything, the return type is void. Next, we provide a name for the function. Here the name of the function is useless. And within parentheses, we will provide the arguments for this function. So the arguments are ordered. So the order in which we list the arguments should be the order in which we pass the arguments. And again, within braces, we will write code that we want to execute as part of this function. Here I'm not adding any statements within the braces, therefore nothing will be executed when this function is called. Now the second example is hello world for functions. Here again the return type is void, so the function won't return anything. Its name is say_hello. Again, no parameters are passed to it, and all it does is to print hello there when we call this function. Now the third function here is the function that will print the grade of a particular student. Now the grade is of type double, so we want to return a double at the end of this function, and therefore the return type is a double. Name is final_grade, and within parentheses we pass 3 arguments to this function. The 3 arguments are the student's grade and midterm, final exam, and homework. Now notice all 3 variables are declared as constant here. The reason why is that the student's score in midterm, final, and homework will be fixed. That is, it cannot change within the function. And we only can use these 3 variables to compute the overall final grade for a particular student. So therefore, it's good to make them constant so that we won't accidentally modify this variable within the function. Now, within the commented piece of lines here, I'm calling this function in 2 different ways. First, I'm calling this function final_grade by passing the score of midterm, final, and homework in the order in which they are declared. Now notice midterm is assigned to midterm, final_exam is assigned to final_exam, homework is assigned to homework. Now they don't have to be in the same names. We can modify this names to be midterm 1, final exam 1, homework 1. And midterm 1 will be assigned to midterm, final exam 1, and homework 1 will be assigned to final exam and homework. So the names of the variables do not matter outside and inside the function. The thing that matters is the order. So suppose we pass them in a different order, wherein first we pass final_exam, then homework, then midterm. Then in midterm, we will store the value of final_exam. And in homework, we'll store the value of midterm. And in final exam, we will store the value of homework. Now this can change the overall grade of a student. If the weights for each of these are different, then the student can get a different grade. So it's important to pay attention to the order in which we have declared a function, order in which the arguments of a function are declared, and we need to call the function with the same order. Now within the function, all I'm doing is computing the final score for this particular student and then returning it at the end of this function. Before that, I have 3 assert statements. Now what this does is that it's verifying whether the score is between 0 or 100. If it's not between 0 or 100, that is, if the student score is less than 0 or it's greater than 100, this will crash the program when we're running in the debug mode. So an assert will crash the program when the condition within the assert fails. So if this condition equates to a false, then the program will stop at the line where the assert is. So this is a useful way to find out, also to check whether the value of a variable is what we expect. So here we expect the scores for a student to be within 0 and 100. So therefore, first I'm checking whether the student score is between 0 and 100. Now the next function shows you an example of how to declare a function. and define it later. So similar to variables, we can either declare and define a variable at the same time, or declare the variable first and assign or assign the value later. Similarly, we can declare the function first and then define the function later somewhere in the program. So here I'm declaring a function called print underscore student underscore score. It's returning again nothing, so its return type is void. And within the parentheses, the arguments that we pass are the student's name, student's score in midterm, final underscore exam, and student score in homework. Now, it's important for us to first declare a function before using it. So similar to variable, first a variable needs to be at least declared before it can be used. So here we need to declare this function first before we can use this anywhere in the program. We don't need to define it, we only need to declare it to use it. So I'll show you this in the main function. In the main function, we're calling the useless function first, then say c underscore hello, and then we're calling the two functions. We are calling the function print underscore student underscore score twice. First with student's name being Lisa and her score, and then student's name Morty and his score. Now notice this will compile. Even though we've not provided a body for this function, this is okay. The function is declared, and therefore this is okay. We are allowed to call this function even though the body is still not defined. However, if we don't declare this function here, that is if I comment this piece of code, now we should get a compilation error saying that print underscore student underscore within the main function is an undeclared function. So it's identifier not found. So again, to recap, similar to variables, a function needs to be declared before it can be used. And similar to variables, a function can be declared and defined at the same time. So now let's look at the definition of this variable, of this function, print underscore student underscore score. It's returning nothing, so its return type is void. Takes 4 arguments. The first is the name of the student. Then we will provide the student's midterm, final, and homework scores. Now notice all the variables are constant again. That is, we don't want to change the student's name or the student's score within the function. We only want to use it to print the student's performance within the scores. So here within an std out statement, I'm printing the student's name, printing the student's midterm, final, and homework score, and then I'm calling this final underscore grade function that we saw earlier with the midterm, final, and homework scores to get the final overall grade for this particular student. So this simplifies the code significantly. We have organized the code better by creating 2 new functions, and we are calling those functions within the main program. So 1, it's easier to read, and then 2, it's also easier to maintain. So let's compile and run this program, and we should see the same print statements that we saw in the previous program. So first we will see hello underscore hello there. So useless does nothing, so nothing happened. In say underscore hello, we print hello there, and then we see the student's performance. First we see what is the student, what is Lisa's performance, and second we will see what is Morty's performance. So this concludes the topic on functions. We saw how to declare and define a function within a C++ program. We saw the advantages of moving the common piece of code inside a function and calling the function multiple times rather than duplicating code. This makes our code shorter and easier to read and understand. And we saw how to declare a global and a local variable, how to use the const qualifier in this video. Next time we will see how to use functions to do recursion. Thank you.